Hey there, YouTube, and thank you for tuning in to Rules for Rebels and another episode of Side Hustle Tuesdays. I know it's been a while since our last episode. We needed to build up some new stories and some new content. And end of the year is always kind of a crazy and hectic time for me and my business, so took a little bit of time off. But we are back with episode 59 of Side Hustle Tuesdays, and we'll be doing these stories every Tuesday, so be sure to tune in. Today's story is a fun one. It's about an Instagram influencer's side hustle. What's unique about today's story, however, is that the two entrepreneurs or two side hustlers featured in today's story didn't start out insta-famous. They started from scratch and grew their account to 1,000 subscribers. At that point, realized that they may be onto something and monetized it and turned it into something even bigger. And to date, they've made over $42,000. So today's story is about two friends who started out together just for fun, visiting some local restaurants and posting pictures on Instagram. Something I'm sure that a lot of you guys do for free. But they figured out how to get paid to do it and how to eat at these restaurants for free. Basically just living their lives, doing something they would normally be doing anyways, but again, getting paid for it while promoting local restaurants and local businesses. And they were able to make real money at it, not just get a few free meals. As I said, to date, they've made over $40,000. And this year have expanded their business to include not just restaurants and food trucks, but also hotels and other businesses in the hospitality space. And they've built a base at this point, so it's likely to only grow from here. Now, many Instagram side hustles or Instagram influencer hustles require a huge following to get started, and it can seem daunting and unachievable that we could do the same thing. But that's one of the things I really liked about this story. They started out with no followers, doing this as a hobby. And it was about the point at which they hit 1,000 subscribers or followers that they realized that they were onto something and looked to begin to monetize this hustle. Now, as I was doing the write-up for today's story, something struck a chord with me. I remembered recently reading an article about a girl from Miami who had moved to New York, Manhattan to be exact, one of the most expensive cities in the country. She was doing an internship with a PR company, but also wanted to be an Instagram star and wanted to be Insta-famous. Instead of doing what the girls in today's episode did, which is being patient and playing the long-term game and building up a following to actually make money doing this and getting paid to eat out, the girl in this story that I read racked up over $10,000 in debt trying to keep up appearances for the supposed fantastic lifestyle she was living. I think a lesson can be learned here. If you want to be an influencer, if you want to live a lifestyle outside of your means, find a niche, play the long-term game, build a following, and you can actually get paid for living this lifestyle. The way not to do it is to rack up a bunch of debt trying to keep up appearances and live a flashy lifestyle which you can't afford, with some vision of potentially, maybe somehow down the road, being able to turn it into money. Maybe I'll share that story in a following episode, but without further ado, let's get into today's side hustle story. So Alexandra Booz, a fitting name considering her hustle, is an account manager at a PR firm in Washington, D.C. by day. On nights and weekends, however, she's a foodie, and she and her girlfriend Karen enjoy visiting local bars and restaurants. In today's story, we're going to share their story of how they figured out a way to monetize this and turn it into an Instagram influencer/PR business. Well, the girls were from DC. Whenever Alexandra and her friend Karen would visit New York City, they would always go out somewhere new and interesting to eat. It was during one of these nights they decided to start an Instagram account to document their foodie adventures and share the interesting places they visited. After about a month of tossing around ideas for names, they finally came up with a name, the East Coast Contessas. They launched their Instagram account. What started as an account just for friends and family quickly grew to over 1,000 subscribers. Far from Insta-famous, but it was some social proof that they were onto something and that people actually enjoyed what they were doing, and they thought that they might be able to turn it into something more. They started a website to complement their Instagram account, and they called the website the same thing, eastcoastcontessas.com. You can check out the site there. It was a really smart idea. While Instagram is a great platform with built-in organic traffic and a great platform for visual businesses like they were launching, at the end of the day, Instagram is a third-party platform, so it's smart for them to get their own real estate or get their own domain which they can control, which they can run ads on, and which they have a bit more control over. It's also smart because Instagram limits you to one link per account, which is in your account bio. So they could use Instagram to link people to their site, which they could then provide more detailed write-ups, they could run ads, they could link to restaurants, etc., etc., etc. For a few months, they offered their services to bakeries, restaurants, local food trucks, all for free. They would eat out at these places, take photos, post them online, essentially promoting these businesses for nothing. They also made a point to start attending local food festivals, events, and conferences in an effort to meet more restaurant owners and chefs. It was around this time that they realized there really was a market for their business, so they bought a GoPro, a couple DSLR cameras, and some editing software, and decided to take better photos than they could with their iPhones. While this may seem a bit expensive, they found deals and bought used off eBay and wound up getting all their equipment for right around $1,500. So it really didn't cost them that much to get everything they needed to launch this business. The next step, however, was getting people to pay for their services. They started off by making a list of businesses they wanted to work with. They made sure to do a lot of research before reaching out with these companies so that they realized that they were a good fit. They both had backgrounds in media, so being able to craft a pitch and having some idea about marketing was helpful. But again, this isn't anything that you guys couldn't do yourself. They made their pitch as easy as possible for restaurants. They made sure the restaurant was a good fit for their image and their story. They provided a media kit with examples of their past free work that they did, as well as pricing for their services. Now, I thought it was pretty smart how they packaged their services. So for $300, they would post a photo of a local restaurant on their Instagram account. Now, some restaurants obviously wanted a bit more press, wanted a bit more attention, so they also offered a package where in addition to the $300 Instagram photo, they could also do a write-up on their blog. Now, the cost was $300 for the photo and then $1 per word additional for the write-up. And then lastly, for restaurants that wanted even more exposure, they offered a video package which could include the $300 photo, a write-up at $1 per word, and a video which cost $400 on top of those other services. They priced their services based on a number of things. They took into account the following that they had. Now, if you have a social media following, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, anything else, and you want to kind of get a rough idea of what your account value is to, say, somebody wanting to pay you for branding or for marketing, you can check out sites like Social Blade or Social Blue Book, and they can give you a rough idea of what your social media account's value is for promotions. They also, however, took into account how long it would take them to produce the content. Now, if you check out the Work With Us tab on their website, you'll see that they've recently started some other services such as freelance photography, blog consulting, and some other consulting type services for businesses. Their first year, they made over $30,000. More recently, they've realized that restaurants have a lot of crossover into the hospitality industry as a whole. So things like hotels, tours of the city, etc. They've expanded their services to include other partners. And this year alone, that has brought in an additional $12,000 in revenue, working with various hotels and tour groups. Alex and Karen appreciate the extra income. They enjoy earning money and getting free meals, doing something they love and enjoy doing and would otherwise be doing anyways just for fun. They also enjoy being able to work with a friend and learn alongside a friend. And they say one of the things that they have the most fun with is being able to be very innovative with this business. To date, they've partnered with over 200 brands. While they did start off working for free, they're now focusing on paid commitments. I thought this was a really fun story. Just this past Friday night, I was in the South Loop eating at this great little restaurant. It's kind of one of these seafood boil places called Low Country. And as I was sitting in the restaurant soaking up the atmosphere, it struck me that the place would do great on a site like Instagram. And while my friends and I wound up shelling out more than $100 for our meal, if we were to follow in these girls' footsteps, we potentially could have had a nice Saturday night out, eaten a good meal, and not only gotten a meal for free, but actually gotten paid to do it. So I thought it was really clever how these girls found a way to kind of monetize their lifestyles and monetize an activity that they enjoyed doing and would otherwise, be paying to do anyhow. I know a lot of you guys at some point or another have probably had an idea similar to this and thought it would be fun to do something like this, but thought it would be too hard to garner a following. Keep in mind, Alex and Karen started out exactly where you are, from scratch with their 0 followers, but they managed to do it. Now, I think a key part of their success was keeping it local or keeping it regional, but again, they are in DC and New York, one of the more competitive and hot food spots in the country, so if they can do it, you surely can do it as well. Anyhow, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's story. Have you done something similar to this or tried to do something similar? How did it turn out? Drop a comment below and tell us about it. Anyhow, that's all for today's story. Thanks for tuning into Rules for Rebels and Side Hustle Tuesdays, and we'll catch you next Tuesday for another exciting side hustle story.